welcome to SVG-TV's news for Thursday, October the 3rd, 2019. I am Bhavanal there with the details. The Forestry Division is said to be doing its utmost to eradicate the invasive Cuban tree frog hair from SVG. So far, the frog has been localized in the Camden Park area on mainland St. Vincent and on Mustique in the Grenadines. The Forestry Division has already alerted the public to be cautious about the coming in contact with the frog, which they say pose a threat to the country's ecosystem. With this in mind, forestry officers have been out in search of the frogs to have them destroyed by responding to reports from the public on possible sightings and examine areas where they can potentially settle. That's the sound of the Cuban tree frog, which the forestry officers in the field listen for as they continue their efforts to eradicate them from SVG. The frog poses a danger to smaller wildlife, including other frogs, lizards, and insects, and are known to multiply in the thousands. Last night, forestry officers were in the Buckman Bay area responding to possible sightings of the frog. After an extensive search of the area, only the Johnsonite, a frog from Barbados, was discovered. Forestry officer supervising the research unit, Samuel Harry, said the lack of the Cuban tree frog in the area is a good sign.
So far, we have not seen any. We have actually got 2 specimens of the Johnsonite. Those are frogs that we are sort of naturalized here. They are basically from Barbados, and they are now in St. Vincent, well, for a while now. So we have not seen the Cuban tree frog. Our efforts would not be exhausted, and we would be actually following up on other claims that there are other parts of the country. So from time to time, night after night, we would be going to different parts of the country to see if we could locate and verify if the frogs have actually spread from the Camden Park area, which they were initially sighted. So tonight was, well, I would say it's fortunate and it's successful because we have not seen any. We don't want to see any more of these frogs around the country.
Harry said the department will continue its efforts to search and destroy the Cuban tree frog. He said there are other species of frogs in the country which are important to the ecosystem, and as such, positive identification is crucial. He took the opportunity to highlight the difference between the Cuban tree frog and the local crapo.
Some of the features of the Cuban tree frogs are they are more streamlined frogs. All right, they have suction pads on their feet, so they can climb. They are very adept at climbing, and the heads are basically tapered heads, and there is a small 2 little eyes. They are not eye, but they are eye-like features around their necks. All right, our buffo, the crapo, is much larger, and they are more rounded. So don't get mixed up with the Cuban fish frog and our crapo.
While thanking the public for its cooperation, Harry said the department will also be engaged in a public education exercise to prevent the accidental destruction of the local frogs.
If you see any frogs that are looking strange in your homes, around your property, anything like that, please report it to the forestry department. And from time to time you would hear broadcast and you would see pictures of them. We would try to broadcast pictures of them so that you can identify them. They are similar to some of the frogs that we have here, and we don't want you to get mixed up on killing frogs willy-nilly, because the frogs that we have here are important to our ecosystems. So we don't want you to eradicate our frogs. So we will try as much as possible to send out pictures of them so that you could easily identify and don't get mixed up with our frogs.
In the meantime, the Forestry Division is once again appealing to members of the public to report any sightings of the Cuban tree frog. For SVG-TV's Evening News, I am Bhavin Olver. The importance of the local frog known as the crapo was also highlighted last evening by forestry officer responsible for supervising the research unit, Samuel Harry. Harry said though many persons may not like this species of frog and some will kill them on sight, they are important to the ecosystem and should be protected.
Our crapo, they control certain insects and other organisms in our environment. So they would actually eat these or predate on them, and they would keep the population of lizards and other insects down, so you wouldn't have them overrunning the country. Another thing that they do, they are an indicator of the environment. So if the environment is somewhat unstable or imbalanced, especially our rivers, our streams, if there are any poison or whatever, they are some of the first indicators that would tell you that something is going wrong with that particular water source or soil or whatever. All right? So they are extremely important for that particular reason as well.
A fast return on investment, easy installation, and a stable network are some of the advantages put forward by teacher at the Richmond Vale Academy, Jesper Fries, as he spoke with our news team about the grid-tied solar system versus the off-grid system. The Richmond Vale Academy recently made history by using 100% renewable energy, using both the off-grid and on-grid system. Both solar systems can reliably produce clean energy, but there are some differences between the two, and Fries took the opportunity to highlight the advantages and disadvantages of both systems. Fries said some persons live close to an electric grid should use the on-grid system, which is connected to VINLEC. Speaking from the Academy's battery room, Fries explained that while the off-grid system provides a level of independence, the batteries are expensive.
If you live in a remote area, then it is advisable that you have a battery stored system, an off-grid system. But if you are living close to the lines, financially, it's better be connected directly to the grid, and then you supply electricity to the grid when you're using, if you're producing more than you're using. And opposite, if you are in need of electricity, you just buy it back from VINLEC. Because the batteries, they will not last for a very long time. They will maybe last between 5 and 10 years, and then you have to buy new batteries. While the solar panels themselves, they will last maybe 40 years, maybe 50 years. You know, so you just put them up and you don't need to worry about them. These ones here, you care about because they're very expensive. Maybe there's for about $20,000 US worth of batteries here. The price is dropping, so maybe now it's only 15,000, but still it's a big amount of money that you have to reinvest every 5 to 10 years, depending on how you treat your batteries.
Fries said while power outages do not affect the off-grid systems, those who utilize the on-grid system will be affected.
That is the good thing of having an off-grid system, is that you will be independent from the national grid. Yeah? But it also means that you have to store a lot of electricity. So this is an expensive setup, according to, but you need this if you want to be completely disconnected from VINLEC. But you will not be interested in that because, generally speaking, our electricity network, our grid in St. Vincent is stable compared to, of course, not as stable as in Denmark or as United States. But according to our development in St. Vincent, the grid is a good stable grid. We are off very little time. So if you want to have this in your home, go with the grid connected installation. It's far the cheapest. Of course, you will also be off. So if power goes off with VINLEC, you're also off because you will only work with the grid.
He added that there are also financial advantages homeowners can take advantage of by using the grid-tied system.
The amount that this one can make, if you convert it into easy dollar, is about 4,000 easy dollar they can create a month on the price that VINLEC is providing right now. So they will pay you 45 cents per kilowatt hour. When we buy it from VINLEC though, we pay around, now I think it's about $1 or something like that per kilowatt hour. But of course, VINLEC, they have their costs, so they cannot sell and buy it to the same price. So when they're buying, they of course buy for a lower price than what they have to sell it for, to cover their costs, you know, and also to make their surplus that they need. So so that's the best model. But if you have a normal household, you're a residential, then you're only selling the surplus energy. So you're using, so during the day, you know, you can use as much as you can, you know, and then prevent using a lot in the day, in the time where the sun is down, because there you buy it for more price than you sell it to. But we have to sell everything, while you, as a residential, you only sell the surplus. So you can use some of it yourself, but we can not do that.
Organizers of the Morongo Festival are anticipating a crowd of 25,000 persons this year as they make plans to host a successful festival. The Morongo Festival, which is in its second year, will be held on Monday, October the 28th at the Châteauguay National Park at Rabaca. Head of the organizing committee, Selman Walters, said even though last year's festival went quite well, they are hoping to improve on various aspects, especially minimize the long lines at the booths.
It was the first one. We did our post-mortem and we are making some adjustments. Last year we had 2 stalls where you can buy the Morongo. This year there'll be 4. Last year there were 2 bars. This year there'll be 3. So we are hoping to reduce the length of the lines. The lines were very long last year because there were just 2 stalls of serving and they were very long. This year there'll be 4 serving stations. So the lines will not be as long.
Walters said patrons can also expect to see more of their food boxes this year.
Last year people complained that they did not get enough of the Morongo. I think they were given 3 bakes with some sides and they want more. So this year there'll be a little bit more. But we can't give you too much because you want to keep the price at $10. If you give you more, the price will go. So we want to keep the price at $10. So we'll give you a little more. It will be better this year, I promise you that.
November 15th will be 4 years since Charlene Graves, a real estate agent, was murdered at her office in the Arnorsville area, allegedly by Veron Primus, who escaped from Her Majesty's prison 2 days ago while awaiting trial for the 2015 fatal stabbing of Graves. Even though he is now back behind bars, Graves' mother, Inyatha Holder, said her fears have intensified knowing that her daughter's alleged killer was out of the prison walls for several hours. According to Holder, the police called her several times on Tuesday and said they would send someone to wherever she was, but they did not say why.
This time, not going to stop him from coming out a second time. Then again, the officers, yes, they did call me and they told me that they want to speak to me and they will send an officer to speak to me. Until this day, an officer has never come. I still waiting to see the officer come. I don't like how it happened. I didn't expect that he would walk out like that. He is just making this whole police force, the whole justice system, look like if we all are fools. And maybe where he is sitting down right now, he's just laughing.
Holder said she learned of Primus' prison break from a journalist and that she kept informed through various media outlets. Holder, who continues to grieve for her daughter, said she constantly lives in fear.
Another thing, I am not feeling safe anymore anyway, because you don't know who he spoke to, when he come out, who he meet with, what he got set up from what he ain't got set up. You always have to walk now with eyes in the back of your head and from the 2 sides. You have to just keep looking, because then you don't know. You don't know who he talked to or what he do. And he didn't say why he come out, and he didn't say why he come out and what he come out for. And it's like everybody where you meet up on the road and you don't know the person, you have to watch them, because you don't know if they're going to take your life, if he send them or if them is in COVID here or whatever. You don't know.
In reference to the trial into her daughter's murder, Holder said she feels the case has weakened with one of the witnesses withdrawn from testifying against the alleged killer.
Wanted something from the crown or whatever so that she could give her testimony, and because she ain't get it, she just withdrew from it. But they should have made she testify if she is one of the key witnesses, because I was told that if she had testified the case against him towards Charlene, it would have been stronger. That's what I was told. But she withdrew. So I don't know what's going to happen. But what I would like the court to do is to call this case with Veron Primus against my daughter Charlene Graves and get it over and done with. If they cannot find him guilty to sentence him down here in prison for life or whatever, then send him to New York where they could deal with him up there.
2 days after the discovery of the body of George Samuel of Evesham in a shallow grave behind his dwelling house, the police were back on the scene today as they continued their investigation into George's death. A close friend of the deceased today spoke with our news team on a disturbing discovery, which has since left residents of Evesham in shock.
Of the quiet community of Evesham were thrown into a state of shock and disbelief following the discovery of a beloved farmer, George Samuel, also known as Koba, in a shallow grave behind his dwelling house on Tuesday evening. Selwyn Delplesh, his close friend who made the gruesome discovery, said he last saw his friend Sunday evening.
Usually cook and exchange food to one another, including Koban. Koban will lie by me, my business place, every day, not missing one day, especially Monday. He usually came by me to watch wrestling and from 8 o'clock on cable. And that Monday, I didn't see him come by me. When I didn't see him come by me, I take it for something. Now, maybe he tired or something like that. But when I didn't see him Tuesday, and it started darkening, myself started to get concerned, and the wife also asking question if anybody see him.
Delplesh said that after a 2-hour search, they found the body and immediately contacted the Mesopotamia police station. The body, he said, bore marks of violence.
We want them to come. We didn't touch nothing, so the Mesopo police came, and when they dig the first pull off, there was Koban wrapped up in sheet and wrapped up in with a piece of carpet over him, and like he get a lash in his head and a piece of them cutting thing with a stretch tight around his neck. There was his lifeless body.
Delplesh said that he would like to see justice for his friend who did not deserve such death.
I want Koban killers come to justice because he doesn't deserve to die that way. I am being honest with you, and the whole community can't come to grips with this thing with Koban. He was such a nice man. Tell you.
The police have since taken into custody the deceased 2 sons who lived with him. However, we were reliably informed that the elderly son was released. The police were back on scene today where George's body was discovered. They brought along his youngest son, who appeared to be in a lot of pain and was assisted by officers out of the police vehicle. We were in the area before the police arrived, and we were asked to stop videotaping and to delete the footage, even though we were standing on the road, which is a public place. Reporting for SVG-TV News, Larissa Pogsley Kidd.